This is the Business Chat Podcast. And welcome back to the Business Chat. I'm really excited to be talking about construction. We have a little series, not so little, talking to contractors, talking to construction professionals, and the little mini sub-series that we were able to sneak in kind of last minute, women in construction. And I'm so stoked to be talking to Miss Vivian Mandala today. She is a multidisciplined, skilled wordsmith, mom, New Yorker. She's CEO of CMC Network. We'll talk about that in a moment. And you guys, she's on a mission to make construction more equitable. That's a whole topic in and of itself. And she's a contractor capacity builder. And I mean the whole picture of widening the thought, widening the abilities of the capacity of the construction companies. She loves New York, cares about construction companies in New York, women in construction. 30 minutes will not cover everything today, Vivian. How you doing?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm good on this Monday morning. Great. Thanks for joining me. So we talked before the recording, you bet, that we were going to try to, zero in on a few topics before we get in, because the clock's running and you've just got a lot of wisdom and experience and kind of updates for people listening. Again, it's Women in Construction Week, but first, all the women in construction want to know, what's Vivian drinking? What'd you bring today?
So today, of course, it's coffee.
Yes.
Because it's like mainlined. Brooklyn Roasting Company is one of my favorite coffee beans. So that's what I'm drinking today.
Right on. And you guys listening, we will link all of these tasty craft beverages, websites, everything in the show notes that you can check out later. But you can check out Vivian's Brooklyn Roasting Company, coffee company. I brought the local Ann Arbor, Michigan Ruse Roast. I just looked before the show because I just buy the beans. Really good. This is the lobster butter. It tastes like neither, but I think that's a pretty cool name. Coffee's come a long way, and I have no idea what that means, but go Ruse Roast and go Ann Arbor. I was there yesterday at one of their more popular delis downtown. Love Ann Arbor, and we love bringing craft beverages to the show because it's just kind of a meaningless shtick. We just plug local beverage. So thank you, local beverage folks, for doing what you do. So Vivian, thanks for showing up. Thanks for being on the show. I say it's easy just not to do things these days. So when my guests are on, I'm like, good job for doing something. I think that, like the pandemic killed some of the ability for us to want to get out and do things. I'm just grateful you're here. Grateful for those listening, watching. We're talking about construction, and it's women in construction. And while we are not making this a qualifier that you have to be wearing a hard hat or welding or running a construction company, you're a woman in construction. Mm-hmm. And so the platform that you got is really interesting. It's unique compared to, and other guests I'm going to have that's all very unique. But CMC, you've got the CMC Network, right? We've got Workforce and coaching. Give us just first, because a lot of folks watching going, wait, who is this gal and what is this CMC thing? Like, tell everyone what CMC is, kind of how it started, what you set out to change in effect. Yeah.
Sure. So I've been in construction for 20 years, like in the field kind. So owned a business. I was a GC for years.
She really did it, folks. She's not just at a computer today. Yes, she used to be out there. Okay, cool.
Yeah, I used to be on job sites downtown Manhattan, freezing my fingers off in February at 6:30 a.m. I've been there. I've done it. So, and I think that's actually important because there's a lot of people who give advice. But the reason that CMC exists, all three of the arms, is because they're all interconnected. So the workforce trains workers because in the non-union sector, we don't have any kind of organized training mechanism. And one of the things that I love about construction the most is that you can start with sweeping the job site and end up in 20 years a millionaire owning your own company. So we set out, and it's a nonprofit, and it's not just me. So please, I'm just a person at the front of this. There's a whole bunch of people behind me, but we set out to create an organized career pathway through construction so that people can see, what are the next steps? You start here, what are the next steps? And that's really important. CMC Network is minority and women contractors, all like-minded, who want to grow, build, and do better, right? We all want to be better, do better, bigger projects, more crew, more trained crew, a healthier work environment, because all of us have been on really bad jobs and on really good jobs. And it is really important, the work that you do and being in a good environment, mentally, psychologically, all of those things. And it does impact, I can say personally, the bottom line of the project and your business when people like what they're doing and they like the people that they're working with. CMC coaching is more pragmatic in the weeds with contractors specifically about building their capacity. Like, how do you do that? Right. And it's not just throwing people onto job sites. It's understanding how projects work, how the finances tie into their company finances. And so creating operational systems that can flex and grow steadily over time so that you can start as a contractor that does $200,000 jobs and you end up, in a year doing $1 million jobs. So you need all of those things kind of playing together in the sandbox. I know that was long.
No, that wasn't. No, actually, I'm loving this because you're so concise. You're covering everything that you do, and everything's an understatement because it's no secret. So Vivian and I had worked together. We met a few years back from a mutual connection. We're both kind of interconnected to a few different groups, but Markham, the world of marketing, a network of folks trying to help contractors and students, and we hope we're no exception. I mean, there's so many services that a construction company could engage in, but I would say what Vivian's doing is at the nucleus of a culture. I wouldn't go far as to say maybe necessarily a problem, but there's a culture in construction where it's just, and God bless these guys and gals, right? They're just pulling their bootstraps up and going for it. And that's part of the problem. It's a little bit like, well, we're just going to work harder. And Vivian, who knows exactly what you're dealing with every day, is here going, hey, I get it. And let me help understand what your problems are. And probably most folks listening to this already, are thinking, okay, I think I may need to talk to you, need to understand what you do, and need to understand what gap you could come in. And what would you say kind of your role and your team's role as consultants, Vivian, kind of piece you just painted a little on the coaching side. What would you say for them is the easiest thing they could think of? Would this be kind of a replacement or a fractional kind of a capacity? Like, would a construction company owner be thinking, okay, taking on Vivian and CMC, sort of like having a bit of a ops dev analysis person come in and help me just win larger bids? I mean, plain terms, what do you help? Yeah.
So it's one of two kind of areas, and people tend to, and human beings are individual. So I'm saying this knowing that there's a million outliers, like literally, especially in this industry. Sure. So usually you've got one of two people. You've got people who come from like the office, architecture, project management side that need field people who are really, really strong. Those people are usually really, really good with just once a week coaching. That's all they need. They need me to say, okay, so this is the next step. And then they're busy doing things, right? But then you have your field guys who have all of this depth of beautiful knowledge, and they're coming into a construction business from the field, right? Which is beautiful. And that's actually what I want to encourage both. But this one has, and I have all kinds of people who would argue with me, but you have a very strong advantage on this side.
Yeah.
Because you've got 20 years of industry knowledge that you're bringing to the table. I help with business development on this end. So it's business management, kind of building out operating systems, and it is fractional. So it's as much or it's little, but the whole point is to replace myself over time.
Right.
So creating an operating system, putting people in place, and then moving out. Yeah. Like, I am one person. I have a small team of people who can do what I do. But we really, really, really want to make sure that we're building contractors and replacing ourselves so that eventually they've got a full back office that is incredibly sophisticated. As sophisticated as they are in the field, we want your office to be, because you need both of those things to take on $10 million projects in the city. You've got to have that level of sophistication to work on all of the infrastructure, projects that are coming down the pipe, which crazily in New York, you don't have to be a union contractor to bid on that work. You have to be organized. You have to have prevailing wage mechanisms in place, but you don't have to be union. So you just need that back office piece. So that's my big, depending on how you're coming at this, we'll switch depending on what you need.
Yeah, see, and
everything's in different spots.
Your heart for this comes through as you talk, because you're talking and thinking of the pains because you've gone through them.
Yeah.
As a marketing guy, a lot of people are looking at the host right now going, well, who's this jackweed with the long hair talking about this? And the answer is I'm not from construction. I've been around the space, been around the technology enough to just appreciate and have a sense of humility for going, my goodness, these guys have 40 moving plates on any given job site where you see a crane. I'm already in my mind now going, the permits and the bonding and the people and the overtime and the payroll. My goodness, we just payroll at the same time. That's pretty cool.
Department of Labor.
Yeah, it really is a controlled dumpster fire of calculated risk and guessing and think. So I've just grown to appreciate the industry, dare I say, love it, and help those same folks in a very different capacity. So as a marketer, I would even say, before you'd engage in something with a Suited or a Booted or an XYZ web, like the Vivians of the world, y'all need to be talking to, because when we get involved as an agency to go, hell, let's raise employer branding. Let's make it folks aware of the kind of workplace you have. Let's spend a couple bucks on a camera, make a video. Let's do these things that we do that do help strengthen the company. We get a look, we start lifting the hood and we're going, there are some operational problems there for these folks just to not be able to work with us. And we're going, man, this would be really great for them to talk to Vivian, which we do. Again, full disclosure, Vivian and I refer business. Yes, we both have we handle you separately, right? Like she's kind of come over here and she's like the masseuse and it's going to hurt a little bit, but you're going to be in a better shape. We kind of fit you for the tux after that. So it's just two different things.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And again, contractors are just going, this guy, this idiot. Actual construction workers, ladies included, are going, I'm not buying this guy. Vivian seems cool though. Well, Vivian, this is more of the bullet out of the gun version of what you do. And that's the point of the business chat, is folks to see you, hear who you are, check you out on LinkedIn, kick the tires a little and get a pass by. Back to this idea, again, you're a woman in construction, and with all the great things CMC does, is there not a piece of this that you came in and said, hey, I'm coming in to help the construction business that's small to mid-size, women, minority. There's so many different personas, profiles that you can relate to. But also, have you seen this to be a little bit women focused? Are you also on a bit of a warpath to kind of go, I'm going to help the ladies out there, in what ways? Because I'd love to just hear you speak now to women listening, going, well, how's she helping us, and what's this relate to women? You're a woman in construction helping the construction cause. So that's just that's great. Green check mark. You're doing great work. But yeah, talk to me a little bit about, again, go back to the days when you were on in your own outfit and what you were facing in the culture.
Purposefully, I only work with minority and women contractors because a lot of the issues that I see have to do with a level of network development and access to answers, capital, just that whole ability. And a lot of it is psychological too. So when I started my construction company, I started it because I had to, because of where I lived after 9/11. I moved upstate and there was no economy up there. And I had a new baby. We didn't know what was going on. I had to feed my family. And so I did the thing that I knew how to do, which is a lot of contractors start that way. Either they go fed up on the job, I can do this better myself, and they storm off, or it's like, I need to feed my family. I have to do this thing. And you just start doing, right? When I was upstate working away, there were contractors that wouldn't work with me because I was female. Now, this was over 20 years ago.
Yeah, don't worry. We're both playing that card today. I'm feeling it too, man.
Over 20 years ago, so much has changed then, but contractors wouldn't work with me. Homeowners were very excited to work with me because I'm female. But the way that they talk to you and the way that they're managing themselves, and the assumptions that they make about who you are and what you can bring to the table on a business end is very, very different. So that has changed a tremendous amount. And that is what I'm hoping to see change more. So I'm going to
change. We're talking about good things happening.
There's a lot of good things that are happening right now. And, you have your propaganda, I call it propaganda, your propaganda, but you can't let it get you caught up. People are trying to help. Sometimes it's more helpful than not, but it's more than what was. Right now, see, all of the CMCs, all three of them, are doing two things. We want more N's and W's, so minority business enterprises and MBE. WBE is a women business enterprise. We want more of them, and we want everybody to be bigger. And bigger doesn't mean more crew and bigger projects. It means healthier, right? So you can be a really dynamic, amazing company with 20 crew. You can be amazing, dynamic, successful company with 50 or 100. Construction is numbers. It's a formula, and there is a secret sauce. So it's learning how all of those parts and pieces work together. So our job is to get more contractors seated, right? And then grow them so that they can sustain more and hire more people over long periods of time, and that they become generational and they don't phase out after dad is done and the kids don't want to work anymore. It doesn't have to close. Corporations don't close. They continue, and we just use the same model.
I think that's great because business in general is needing what you're talking about. And so many businesses, construction or not, startup, same way with a need. And the guy, building fences, the carpenter looks around and goes, I'm tired of working on this crew. And he gets his license, gets some equipment, sets out and does it himself, and learns very quickly, usually in a very short time, that putting up those fences for Joe Bob, Jimmy Bob on the old job sites actually was a lot of bliss to just work, punch the clock, because now you're running payroll.
You're responsible.
Now you've got to do the business of woodworking, and now you're the sub, and now you're going, oh yeah, it's a different thing to be good at something. Tremendous skill, and now you're having to be the manager and run all the parts. And so, understatement, there's so many pieces of construction. That's what I'm saying is for the startup company looking to have just, textiles and fashion and tech, have it so much easier in terms of a drop ship digital business from sort of your garage, if you will. Or in construction, if you dare to say, hey, we can refurbish a building, build one, put up a bridge, lay roads, do underground utility, buckle up. I mean, you said 20 people. I'm going, yeah, that's a skeleton crew, but it doesn't need to be. Right. And profit margin's profit margin. Like if someone's running 4 jobs a year, they can be doing better than someone running 16 with a bigger crew. And on paper, you're looking at them and
doesn't matter.
Yeah, you're nodding going, but you're looking at their books going, these poor people are just hemorrhaging money, and they don't understand insurance and bonding. Because again, back to the story, they're passionate builders. Like they got it.
Which is great because they can go on a job site and say all of the things that are wrong. They can motivate their crew, because crew respond also to guys and gals that have been in the field. And that's one of the things that I've seen change so much over the last 20 years is when I started, because I came through architecture and interior design. And when I started, we were the women in construction. We were either interior design or architectures. Maybe you saw a project manager sprinkled in there because she was, tenacious, but it was college educated, right? You saw no women working in the field. Well, I saw no women. I know that they're out there because I've seen pictures. So,
sure.
Yes, I've heard of them when I find them amazing. But now when I go onto a job site, there are women who are painting, there are carpenters who are female, there are welders who are female. So it's not even like, oh, we do the painting and the spackling. It's like the concrete workers. There are strong women in the it's those trains are intense and it's amazing. So that same tenacity for that woman to have gotten through the training aspect, staying on a crew, holding her own, I want her to be a business owner because by God, she's going to have the core strength to hold on to the business when everything's going sideways. So I think that if I could really quick, one of the things that people don't talk about in construction is money. So if you have a crew of 20 and your payroll is due weekly, as it is in New York, and you're working on a city project or any high-rise project, you've got a 90-day turnaround on your receivable. So you're going to bill out, but you're not seeing anything come back to you for at least 90 days. So you've got to be able to hold 3 months of payroll, all of the materials and all of the office expenses, operating expenses. That's a huge lift. And it doesn't feel like a huge lift because you're like, I can do this thing. But it's kind of like blowing out those kind of practicalities around the boring part, which is financial, cash flow, all of that kind of stuff, is usually what makes or breaks these smaller contractors. Because if you've got a crew of 2, it's actually harder to make a profit than if you have a crew of 20 because you're carrying the operating costs. But I'm not going to go down that.
Right. And no, this is great. And anyone in the industry is just like, now they got their popcorn and they're closer to the screen going, yeah, exactly. Keep talking. Because the truth is, it does matter to have the size crew and to have bonding capacity and to have resources and subs and be part of a network and have partnership strategically, because there's nothing worse in any discipline, but particularly in construction, where the work for bid is open and you can't put in, or you can't deliver all the work. And you sure could use that money. You can't make.
So I have more contractors than not. So one of the things that I say in New York is it's never about the jobs, right? There's plenty of work here. Most contractors fail when they get a project that's too big. So a contractor that has 7 crew and he's a glazer and he gets an $8 million project and it kills his company because he needs 30 guys on crew. He's got 7. So you can get there.
Let's talk about labor shortage. We'll be here for another hour. I'm kidding. Yeah. Human capital is really, at the end of the day, that's a human capital and a workman's comp intensive space. And having somebody that you can trust is at least advising, consulting, and leading you to who's going to ultimately absorb a controller, in-house folks to run that, man, is critical for sure. And you're right. And New York or not, by the way, and I totally hear you on a city like that with all the particulars. But in any competitive, you look at what's happening in Atlanta and Charlotte and Nashville, these cities, like you said, there's plenty of work. It's very competitive though, and it's bloody water, shark infested water, construction wise. Yeah, and it's very difficult for these groups. A lot of them, I learned a saying, back when I first started, just again observing the space as the post music scene hippie I am, as I started seeing like, wow, these guys on one particular job, on any given job, could just go chapter 11.
Oh yeah,
one job,
easy.
Like that part blew my mind. I'm watching this whole space going, oh my gosh, like it doesn't take much to lose your, what. And so with that, I think from a marketing perspective, we started approaching contractors again with a little more humility. Not your website sucks, your logo's old. It's like, look, they never cared about that anyway. Yeah. And we're not telling them they're going to land more bids on Facebook ads and our gimmicks. We shift over to just going, we want to tell your story. Like we recommend, like you said, have the corporation live on. No elevator pitch here. The whole narrative is one, right? No matter if it's marketing or what you're doing, it's saying, let's not just finish jobs and move on to the next one. Let's figure out how to be efficient. Effective. And let's figure out how to have systems right. And if an owner gets sick, if he moves on, heaven forbid, if he passes, prematurely before he was planning on passing away, having that plan in place is something we see all the time. Be this, and it's horrible when you have to work in those situations and you're working with a family now, and there wasn't much set up, right? And it's ultimately it's fatal, it's disastrous.
Yeah, so agreed.
Well, on the this is really cool because you're dealing only with minority and women-owned businesses. Correct. Did I hear that right? Yeah, and I agree they do need the most help. And you don't have to say it. I will, as the host, that this has been the Caucasian boys' club. Yeah, it just has been. It's been construction. So has finance. So has 10 others. As people are hearing this, going, "Is this guy kidding?" It's the whole business world. And so, as a white Caucasian, I can look at what you're doing and going, "Well, yeah, I don't need to be sold on this. This is 100% needed." The culture barriers, the language barriers, just getting loans, getting money moving, especially if you're coming into the United States going, I've got a skill and I've come from out of the country, and that struggle is its own particular, additional layer, let alone, like you said, there's women and there's minority families going, we've got a skill, we've got a trade, or like you said, we've just got the opposite side of the business and we need the crew. And what a cool gap you're coming in to fill and hear and address, because that's a lot to take on. Talk to me about that a little bit at your team. Run through some things again for the contractor listening. So CMC could have someone come in and sort of the, the counselor's equivalent of just dumping their whole, their whole bag of problems on you effectively. Yeah. And you can help them as though you're saying, hey, I've got money issues, staffing issues.
All the issues.
Great. Okay.
So, and it's better when they're honest, right? So more often than not, we like to portray ourselves as having it all together. And it does become, at the very beginning, if I'm doing my job right, it becomes slightly, I'm going to scare some people, slightly therapeutic, in that you finally have somebody that you can talk to, because there are a lot of gentlemen out there who are holding it together by their fingertips, who don't necessarily want to dump their problems on their spouse or their crew. They don't want to scare people, and because they don't need the added stress of other people's fear on top of the thing that they're holding up with their fingertips. And as women, we tend to pretend that we all have it together, even though we don't. So that honesty at the very beginning, you were going to say something, Drew.
No, it's great. I'm just, and I shouldn't. This is all about you. I was just going to say, and on top of that, being a woman in construction, I'm picturing the scenario of a lady that's got a team together. She's been in the field like yourself. Now she's running the business, can get out there with the guys, hard hat, reflector vest, all the heavy equipment, but like now is running it. And all the more reason why she would understandably hold it close to the chest. Like, no, everyone's expecting, did you hear so-and-so's, outfit folded? Yeah, these late. So they're going to be even more, you ladies, I can see would, and just be like, no, everything's great.
Yep.
No, we're good. Yeah, we're going to get it on the next one. And that's cool to know for those of you listening. What Vivian's putting out there is just not just services. Like, that's a trusted advisor relationship. And like I said, someone who's spent some time worked with Vivian, you're putting your business in the hands of someone who cares. There's a real relationship. There's loyalty. And that's why I reached out to you. I thought, this is great. There's women in construction. It's funny. I'll just say also, you and I talked about this. You were like, Drew, be careful. There's women in construction, right? And then there's business people that are in construction and they're women. And I laughed. I went, she knows what she is talking about, man. Because I'm not kidding. So for those of you curious, going, hey, he doesn't have real women in construction. I do. And Vivian is a real woman in construction. But I will interview other folks on the series who are putting out services and things for construction businesses that are women owned. But point of mentioning that is we've got a new landscape of where a young lady, not so young lady, just ladies can get involved and say, I've got office skill, but I've also got like tactical, like block and tackling, like field experience. And I know the nuances of, like you said, New York construction. I really understand framing. That's really cool, because I think what you're saying, this is right back at you. Have you sensed that's changed? Like a hiring manager, HR at a company goes, who's this? Oh, sorry, young lady, we're not looking for women when your job. I don't think they're saying that anymore.
Well, it doesn't seem like it, but one of the things, so the thing that I'm most excited about is less about the office staff. There are far more women project managers out there and all of that, but that again is feeding from higher ed, right? Most project managers who are in New York are coming from higher ed. They've got a master's degree or a bachelor's degree in project management, right?
Yeah.
So the people that and I would help them also, like no doubt. But the people that I'm interested in are the women and the men who were tradespeople for years and years. And so I get really excited going on to job sites, seeing these women working in the field, putting in their hours. 15 years from now, if they're in a good business environment, this is why all of these things, all of these supported systems work together, because that woman needs to have field experience, but she needs to get managerial experience, right? So she needs to move up to a foreman, a super, from a super into project management, from project management into estimating, and go into the office to start developing those office skills. That person who can start in the field at labor, pull up through like concrete, right? Spend 15 years in the field in concrete, maybe another 5 years, 10 years running crews and running projects, doing a little office work on the back end. That woman or gentleman is going to be a killer running a business, because if you know how to bring projects in successfully, schedule, budget, all of those things, right? and you have really strong KPIs and you know what those KPIs are, then you can build a business off of projects that way. But you've got to really understand how the projects are built together, how to communicate with your crew.
Right.
You've got to be like, so it's not that you have to do one thing. You'd have to have this whole set of cards, like all of them, because
I love it.
Ones at any one time, if that makes sense.
Well, it does make sense, and I think then it prompts the question from the guy, and I did not. So none of these are scripted, you guys, but this one I'm going to throw at you, Vivian. So it's a little bit of a curveball.
Okay, I'm ready.
So for the men listening, and I'm talking about the guy that's been in roofing for 20 years, right? The union lineman that's been with the utility company. This could really extend beyond that, but your trades, strong union, and I don't want to say demeaning that they're boys clubs because they're predominantly men. They would say, no, we're not boys clubs. We're open to women apply. They're all kind of hearing this, going, dude, here's the reality. And then fill in the different things that could be hurtful, but unintentionally, I think in a lot of cases, they're just going, this is just a tough job on ladies. And I've at least seen the conversation move to that, where there was a women shouldn't be doing this. And I think we're agreeing. We've moved past that. And now and I get like this with politics. I'm a little bit like, I just sit in the middle of popcorn and watch the two go because I really don't have a stake in it. And I go, I don't know, Elon took over Twitter. You guys are so sure the minute he did that it's terrible. Maybe it's actually good, because every time all of Hollywood and the music industry is on one track, I go, well, maybe every time they get together, I'm always like, I'm on the other end. Anyway, this thing of women in construction doesn't have as much red tape and barbed wire around it as much as me going, time will tell. And are you kind of going, if we make 10% headway into seeing more, again, in your case, it's minority owned and women, so cool. It's a complex, it's just a different way of thinking about. It's very different. Yeah, limits. But just for women for a moment, are you of the mind of saying, hey, I think these women can do any of these jobs men can do?
Yes.
And it'll just take time? Yeah. So, for the record, I'm rooting for y'all. I'm just saying, how do you really think this will play out?
Where 100 years ago, construction was 100% physical. And I'm not saying that it's not physical now, because it is very physical. Standing on concrete,
I get where you're going.
Is in and of itself, standing on a concrete slab in February is hard work, because the cold gets into your bones. So there's that level of physical discomfort and me being okay with that.
Sure.
We have tools now that make work physically easier. Yes, holding a jackhammer, you still have to have upper body strength. But I have yet to meet a woman who, if she wanted to develop upper body strength, was just like, I physically can't. It's not like her muscles won't develop, right? So there is, no, it's not like we're carrying people up flights of stairs, even though women are in the fire department and they do that practically too. So if you can practically do the thing that needs to be done, there is zero reason why you shouldn't be there in the room. It's the same thing for project managers and women in project management. Like, you have the same brain cells. It's legitimately nothing that you can't do as a woman. You might have to work harder, right? It might be harder for you to develop your upper body strength than it would be for a man. But you know that going in. So you just do the work. And we're used to working really, really hard and kind of being in the position where we had to show everybody. That's normal. Yeah. So you just come with that energy and you just take over. Like, that's kind of, because you're expecting people to point.
This is great.
Yeah.
Well, cool. I mean, in closing, because there's so many more things we could talk about, I want to, for the record, Drew is a fan of women in the workplace, in construction, doing anything that their bodies, not limiting them to do, because why not? And I think that's, I don't think that's even evolution. I think that's finally righting the scales. And we have had chauvinism. We have had Us For No More club, and it permeates through business and culture. And without getting into gender and roles and all those things, just in the conversation of construction, and you can't not have this without a gender conversation. My point is, when a woman identifies as a woman and says, hey, I'm a woman, I would like to apply for this job, I can do this work. It's really kind of, if you think about from a business perspective, it's sort of stupid to limit somebody who's willing to go do something to work for you. Like, think about the labor shortage for you men out there. Think about the women that could be interested in coming to work for you, could be working for you today. And you've created a culture where they don't feel like they can, where you've not enabled them to have any training on the job or otherwise.
You keep them in the office. That's not it.
Right. Yeah. And I think we unintentionally, I will add as a little bit of a weight off that, we unintentionally just come into work with that culture. It's like this, because this is construction, well, obviously the women will be in the field, the men. And I think I like seeing the folks like you are coming in and breaking that up, where it's already now getting a little softer. I agree that now with the tools and the technology, it's not the same thing as swinging a hammer in the 20s and 40s. It's a very different landscape. And yet at the same time, it's all too familiar. The water cooler talk feels like it's still pre-World War II, right? In the way we refer to like, hired a Jane, you know.
But you've got little ones too, right? So you and I sure that we have that in common. My daughters, who are 14 and 11, the conversations that they have about what is acceptable, what they'll tolerate, which is sometimes is a little much, but it makes me really happy, because strength is something that they want to see. That's something that they hold.
Sure.
The ability to endure, not to be a shrinking violet, but really to be true to yourself. If you're quiet, kind of wordy type, there's a place for you in this world. Being genuinely yourself, presenting yourself as a strong human, regardless of what it looks like on the outside, I would say I am so excited to see whatever ground we break here, right? And have been breaking for the last 20 plus years as women in construction.
Yeah.
The young ladies that are coming up through middle school and high school, seeing the women in the field, seeing successful owners of companies, I think that's when we're going to see a surge. And that makes me the most excited.
Yeah, and the analogy I close with is you just see it in professional sports. Overnight, you all of a sudden saw a surge in minority, and you saw something for these young boys and little girls to look up to in Olympics. And I could go on, but it's a good thing to see yourself represented in a role that you went, I didn't know I could do that.
It felt like a surge, but I'm going to say it felt like a surge. There were a million people who worked for 30 years, 40, 50 years to make that break happen. And that's correct. That's what we're seeing.
100%. And it was not overnight. And I think that's, again, a great way to close. Vivian's not looking to make, as we've talked about this extensively, change overnight. Change doesn't happen overnight. Lasting change doesn't happen with a movement, with just protest, peaceful protest, but it happens with legislation. It happens at that level, right? Law. It happens with culture. And it happens with what Vivian's saying is, women seeing somebody to look to and seeing a role model of an example. And I can't think of a better place for you women in construction, either aspiring, you're there today, reach out to Vivian. I've got her info linked on LinkedIn. You can go to cmcnetwork.co. Thank you to Brooklyn Roasting Company and roast with your lobster butter. Yeah, I got to get some Brooklyn Roasting. Vivian, we rushed this interview, we talked and I was like, women in construction, hop on the show. So we owe you one of these, I'm excited. Medium quality mugs, pint glasses, kit. All right. Anything you want to plug at the end? Are you going to be speaking anywhere? Is anything coming up people should be watching for?
So not really. We're just plugging along, looking for speaking engagements. Staff are doing that any day of the week. Little kids in gymnasiums, all the way to corporate headquarters of large, builders, and anything in between. I'm always writing, so if people want to see what I'm doing, they can go to the website, the coaching website, and pick that up. If they want to hear from a host of different professionals about a variety of different things, they can go to the network's website. So it's not just me there, it's all of us there. So, which is a beautiful thing.
That is beautiful. What a cool thing you're doing. And look, people are calling in already. Excellent. Well, Vivian, thanks for being on the show. Thanks everyone for listening and tuning in. Have a good one, babe. We'll see you.
You too. Bye.